Ready when you are, Your Worship.
Good evening. Welcome to the regular session of Bayham Council. It is Thursday, April the 4th, 2024, 7:04 p.m. And I will call this meeting to order. I'll remind members of any disclosures of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. I see none noted. Review of items not listed on the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have one item tonight. It's item 13-2C, report TR 1124 from the treasurer regarding Q1 2024 variance report.
All right, thank you. Announcements from council members. Any announcements? Okay, simply the upcoming solar eclipse that is coming. Solar eclipse, lunar eclipse, whichever, it's an eclipse. Coming on Monday. It could be busy on the roads, it's weather dependent. We don't know. We're planning for it. If you have your solar eclipse glasses, great. There is a limited supply left here in the office. I understand somewhere around maybe 50 pairs. So that's it. There may be some at the library, but they're going fast. So if you haven't got some, get some quick. I hope it's a nice day. I hope it's sunny. It's a once in a lifetime event. We're all going to be right in the, the path. And as long as everyone's safe, enjoy the show. Okay. We have no presentations this evening, nor delegations. Brings us to section 7, adoption of the minutes. Includes the regular council meeting held March the 21st, 2024, and the statutory planning meeting held March the 21st, 2024. Everyone's had opportunity to peruse those minutes. If there are no errors or omissions, I will accept the mover and seconder for the following: that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held March the 21st, 2024, and the minutes of the statutory planning meeting held March the 21st, 2024 be approved as presented. Mover and seconder, Councillor Chilcott, Deputy Mayor Weiser. All in favor? That is carried. Moving down to section 11, physical services and emergency services. 11.2, reports to council. Report BL 0324 by Stephen Miller, bylaw enforcement officer, regarding refreshment vehicle licensing bylaw. Good evening, Stephen.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Through your worship, the report before you deals with the possibility of implementing more specific and detailed regulations for refreshment vehicles. Excuse me. In 2009, council passed bylaw 2009-086 to implement a licensing system for refreshment vehicles. Since that time, the clerk has received many inquiries from people who wish to operate different types of refreshment vehicles that are not currently contemplated by the existing bylaw. In response to those inquiries, staff conducted an interjurisdictional review on best practices to see how other municipalities regulate different types of refreshment vehicles. Staff put together a draft refreshment vehicle bylaw, which more adequately addresses regulation of different types. Staff are not asking council to consider the draft at this time, but rather staff are looking for council direction on various aspects or various questions that arose in the formulation of the draft. Excuse me. So the first question would be, is there appetite for council to revisit the current regulations related to refreshment vehicles? My understanding, the specific issues are the Dickie D type ice cream delivery bikes. There's been a bunch of inquiries related to that. So is there appetite on council to regulate more types of refreshment vehicles? Licensing more refreshment vehicles could create more revenue by way of licensing fees. But I would leave that with council.
All right, you want to deal with these one question at a time?
Yes, that's probably the best.
I think it'd be easier. Excuse me. If I recall, when this was first discussed, 2009, the idea was that by mobile refreshment vehicles or carts or whatever you wish to call it, hot dog stands, were benefiting from we're benefiting from the, being placed, within the, yes, you could say the recreational or wherever else environment within, Bayham, and yet not contributing to any services or, taxes or anything else. And so I think that was the idea, was to try to bring some equity to those who had established places of business providing the service versus those that were mobile and weren't contributing to the tax base. So that's the whole principle and premise behind it. Is that your recollection as well, Mark? I think it is. Okay. So should we revisit this? I would say the council's probably a good idea to take a look at it again. My recommendation. I'll look for any comment. Things have changed in the last few years. I want to add one other thing in here. When we were contemplating this back in 2009, it wasn't talking about the vendor who was coming in for a day. It was talking about a vendor who was coming in over a consecutive period of time. Was it 3 days, Mark, we were thinking about, or 5? Somewhere in that neighborhood. So a consecutive operator, not a day by, a one-off. So wasn't interested in capturing somebody who's setting up a barbecue to do a function in the park. That wasn't it. Or a one-day festival. But somebody that's setting up along the street or on some municipal property or wherever else, but operating over a period of time. That's what we were interested in. Just trying to bring some equity again back to the system. Susan, Councillor Chilcott.
Thank you. When I was thinking about this, when you were talking about the Dickie D and that type of thing, yeah, they're kind of cool to have, but we have Scoops in Port Burwell that does the ice cream. And would it be fair to them to have somebody else come in that's, like you said, not putting money back into the community? However, if Scoops or a business that was already established in Bayham wanted to do like a Dickie D bicycle thing, that would be a different situation.
Well, that's why I think that was something that you would say, we're interested in looking at it, staff, come back and tell us what.
It's something along that
Yes.
line I could see. I don't want to take business away from someone else, but then again, Stratfordville doesn't have an ice cream shop, so maybe a Dickie D would be good there. It's a mixed bag, right?
That's the point.
Well, please start with us through you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, sells ice cream.
No, she does not.
Not anymore?
Not for about 4 years.
Oh, yeah, really?
However, the Needed Nook is starting to.
Okay, well, that's fine, but no, the point taken. Yes. So again, the first question is council interested in having a look at this again? A look at the bylaw?
I don't think it would hurt.
Oh, it's been 15 years. That's why I'm saying that it would be timely to take a look at it again. So I'm thinking that there's consensus to take a look at it. That's question number 1.
Thank you. If it was no for that, there'd be no need to look at the other questions. Do we want to license refreshment vehicles operating at specific locations only, or do we want to allow refreshment vehicles to move from location to location, essentially like the Dickie D type thing, or to allow vehicles that prepare food to move? They could operate one day in Stratfordville, the next day in Port Burwell, the next day in Vienna, or something of that nature. Some municipalities do limit it to a very specific location that has appropriate zoning.
Right.
So, some municipalities allow them to move from location to location. It's an important consideration. These questions will help us get to a more reflective bylaw that represents where we want to go.
Absolutely. Open the floor. Councillor Chilcott.
Thank you again. So these mobile, if we allowed them to move from spot to spot, are you suggesting that you would have a spot where they had to? So if they were going to do it in Stratfordville, they did it at the Four Corners. If they're going to do it in Port Burwell, they didn't do it on the beach because we already have someone there. They have set up spots, or can they just go willy-nilly wherever they are and possibly park in a danger zone.
Well,
You know what I mean? Like if they're on a bend or whatever, right?
And so we would look at that through the licensing process, the proposed location, and it would have to obviously be approved in terms of the issuance of the license. The options are essentially endless. We could have, in other municipalities, they do have, pop-up, food truck markets, that will operate at a specific location that will bring food to a community and then they'll move. In other locations, they opt not to do that, and it has to be in a specific commercially zoned location.
anyone else? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick clarification. Are we talking about municipally owned property or any property?
That is in here, and
Okay.
I will seek clarification, and there's,
Yeah, I know it's the next question, but
Yeah.
I'm just, yeah, okay. Let's get there.
so the question being, do we want them only at specific locations, or do you want to open it up for them to be able to move within the municipality? I believe the draft has language in it that precludes them from operating within a geographical radius of an existing business, thus satisfying the competition piece.
You're talking about an existing light business.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Next question is, do we only want to license food trucks? Or do we want to allow refreshment vehicles such as ice cream bikes, barbecue stands, hot dog carts? Hot dog carts can be towed behind, or they can be placed in a stationary location. There's various different types. Those are contemplated in the draft. But is that somewhere where we want to go, or would we prefer just the typical type of food truck that's on wheels?
Well, I would think one is as competitive as another, depending upon, it's just the scale of, or the amount of product that they could offer. You could offer theoretically more out of a food truck than you could have hot dog stand. But the point being, a business is a business.
And the requirements are different in my research, related to the type of activities that are going on. There are higher thresholds for food preparation on site, versus pre-prepared, prepackaged food, ice cream and things like that.
Appreciate that. So, again, the question is, are you gonna discriminate other than perhaps a licensing fee or requirements between a food cart or a food truck? Are you gonna treat them somewhat all as falling under a particular umbrella? See, Councilor Chocott.
Thank you. I'm envisioning the Dickie D carts as being something pulled behind a bicycle that, anybody can pull. Whereas a food truck, they're most likely going to be cooking and that type of thing with a excuse me, a Dickie D cart. You would have to be able to move around, where a food truck, you could make them, like they could be two different things. One stationary, keep the food trucks in one spot and let the bikes ride around town, like come to my house, right?
And,
They're kind of, I'm just saying, I think that they're two separate.
but they're still offering product to you. You didn't have to go to the restaurant to get it.
Correct.
So, but they're in competition with the restaurant. Are you going to license both? Or are you going to exempt one? Or exempt both? That's the
Oh,
question.
okay, sorry, I thought
That's
you
the
were
question.
talking about,
No, that's the
Yeah.
question.
okay, I misunderstood your question.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, like, there is one would have to really seriously consider the fees on food trucks and that, because people invest the capital, set up shop, have to provide washrooms, have to provide everything. And it's already hard enough to keep a restaurant open, and we're gonna let a food truck come in that doesn't have a washroom, and you would have to really consider the fee unless there was a festival or some other thing.
Well, agreed.
compare, like, what do you do? Gross sales against property tax dollars? Right? Then present the fee out like that. Like, I don't even know, if that's appropriate for somebody that has 3 or 4 months to make their living for the year and have to compete against a food truck that's not under the same regulations and requirements.
That's why licenses were introduced back in 2009 to bring some parity to it.
Well, I think we should review to see if we're still at parity or under parity, right?
That's correct. We already answered that question. We were going to do this.
Well, I'm just putting a reminder out there to staff that
you.
to really consider the people that actually invested in the community.
Right. So, but it gets back to the same question. Are you going to extend this particular licensing fee to carts, food trucks?
Of course, right?
Okay, that's the answer.
But I think if you were fair, it would be unappetizing for a food truck to come down.
Possibly. And again, is council thinking, no. Just to reiterate, are you thinking that this should be applied to those who come in and operate for 1 day? Or are you thinking like over a festival for 2 days? Or is this something that should be a longer running business?
Like I say, if the fee was appropriate, I don't think you would come for a day.
If you want to go down and operate, say, run a barbecue for I don't know, a fundraiser event. But would you be willing to donate and do your time with it? You have to get a license to do it.
That's one maybe separate caveat or something, but I'm just saying, people that are in for profit, and I have a food truck, I can go anywhere I want.
Okay.
And I don't have the same fixed financial costs as the people that can't actually pick up their restaurant and move it to Vienna for a day. Or to Langton or wherever.
That's why the whole concept of licensing. is
Right.
Yes. Oh. And it is something that'll have to be, again, staff will have to come back, tell us what the appropriate fee might be. We set it at 2009. That's a long time ago, 15 years. So if that's what you want to do, yes. Councilor Chilcott.
I was just, I don't remember how they do it for Watermelon Fest. They have a bunch of different food trucks come in for the day. I know they have to have their insurance and everything, but do they have their individual license or are they covered
Believe so.
under the Watermelon Committee?
So through your worship, the current refreshment vehicle bylaw speaks to council approved special events that they don't need a license. That is on the list of questions to see,
Yeah.
would you want a different fee for just a 1-day special event fee? The one thing as well that I was just thinking that might help to piece things together too is, in my opinion, one of the biggest questions is if you want to allow any type of vehicle on municipal property or not. Because if that answer is no, then I think that would make it difficult for any of those ice cream carts because they're predominantly going to want to be going along the road, setting up in a park, that sort of thing. So I think that maybe is a good question to look at first, perhaps. And again, our current one is just for the typical refreshment vehicle food truck. We don't allow it on municipal property, has to be on private property that's zone C1. Commercial zoning, yeah. So.
The next question I have, should we include a requirement for that operators licensed by the municipality as part of the application process, provide the municipality a criminal records / vulnerable sector screening? This comes up particularly in relation to mobile ice cream trucks. I think as a municipality, it's incumbent on us to ensure that the people that are licensed to operate, people that are licensed to operate are free of any past criminal misdeeds or things of that nature that can happen.
Okay.
So one of the piece typically from most municipalities that have this in their bylaws is that this is intended to protect the public and more specifically children.
I don't see an objection to that.
I would recommend that it go in. The next question I have is what level of insurance do we want to require? I believe the current one, is 2. However, it's my understanding that most municipalities are going to 5 million. Naming the municipality as an additional insured as a requirement for licensing. This is a risk mitigation measure as part of the licensing regime. And it helps protect and indemnify the municipality from liability.
I think the same concern exists as from the previous report that came forward. What is the premium difference between 2 million and 5 million coverage? That's something I don't know.
And I don't have the answer on that, but
I didn't get it yet.
Okay. I think we left our festival and events still at the 2 million, we not? But at this time, we're not asking for a bylaw to be, well, you can draft one, but we're not approving a bylaw. It always can be amended if we change our mind. So what's council thinking? I'm seeing to my left. Comfortable with 2. How about the right? Stick with 2 for right now, I think.
thank you. This next question was kind of answered, but for the record, I'll put it. Does council wish to increase the licensing fee, impose different fees for different types of refreshment vehicles and things of that nature?
I would say would take the advice on what's going on neighboring jurisdictions. What's out there? Yes.
Thank you. Does council wish to require refreshment vehicles associated with a special event to have a day licensing fee at a reduced cost or something of that nature? Does council want to exempt special events as is current practice, provided their council approved? That was another question that I had.
What again is common practice around us?
Common practice is typically there is a special event policy and the special event itself has a licensing fee. And all vendors are associated with that fee. And it's kind of a blanket license implemented on the special event.
Okay. Thank you for those questions.
I did have one more, and this goes to the mobile nature, and that is, do we want to, through the bylaw, allow refreshment vehicles to operate on municipal property outside of a special event? That's an important consideration. We've talked about, sometimes ice cream vendors may want to go into the park or whatever. Is that something we want to allow? Do we want to allow them on the roadway? That's another important consideration.
All right. I haven't got a sense about what again is occurring around us, and I appreciate that.
The bylaws that I can advise that the bylaws that I have reviewed, outright prohibit it unless it's associated with a special event.
All right, thank you for that. So in other words, they're looking more for stationary.
Correct.
All right. What's council thinking?
Question.
Stationary, Councillor Chilcott?
Oh, I had a question.
Oh.
So on the beach, we have Scoops
Mm-hmm.
and that's a food truck, correct? And that's municipal property?
Yes, and they also are under a tenancy agreement.
Yes. I just wondered how that fit in with everything else that you're looking at here, because we don't want to have 2.
Yes.
bylaws.
So that's governed by a completely separate agreement.
I just didn't want them
Thank you.
to hear
Agreed.
they get this and we don't. Thank-
Okay. Anything else for Mr. Muller? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. Just for consideration purposes, I'm just curious as to, will you be bringing back a report or will it also include a draft bylaw?
Yes, I believe that's the next step. So difficulty in creating the draft we already have was that there was too many questions for me to bring a draft to council and ask for you to approve it. So the thought process was to get some answers to these questions, get a feel for what council wants. And then I'll go back, implement the feedback, bring back a draft, and then council can debate that.
Okay, Deputy Mayor?
Thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. Would it be possible, Steve, if when that draft bylaw comes back, is it possible that the recommendation or the recommended changes are in red and the existing bylaw comes back the way it is, just so we can, I'd like to compare the changes, and sometimes it gets confusing to flip back and forth.
Just a quick comment to that. It's likely going to be a brand new bylaw. We're not looking at probably using the same template. Instead, what we probably do is include in the report a table of the changes that identifies what's being removed and what's being included in the new draft, and we'd append the draft to the report that comes back.
Okay. Anything further? All right, we have a motion that reads, report BL 0324 regarding refreshment vehicle licensing be received for information, and that council provide, well, what's your motion?
So we need to craft something.
Got something.
Oh, you do, but I didn't know if we've covered all the questions.
I think we have. I think we've covered licensing in specific locations. I've got a motion that covers the bases if council's interested. So it'd be the report BL 0324, refreshment vehicle licensing be received for information, and that council directs staff to report back with a draft refreshment vehicle licensing bylaw that licenses a variety of stationary refreshment vehicle types on private property only, requires a criminal records vulnerable sector screening, requires 2 million in commercial general liability coverage, and exempts refreshment vehicles associated with an approved special event, and that staff consider fees from adjacent municipalities when reviewing refreshment vehicle fees for the revised bylaw.
Mover and seconder, please. Councilor Chilcott. Seconder. Deputy Mayor. All in favor? Okay, that's carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, members of council.
Thank you, Stephen. We are recessing from our regular agenda to go into a public meeting. Okay. We're now moving into a statutory planning meeting. And it is 7:32 PM, and I'll call this planning meeting to order, excuse me. I remind members any disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof. There are two bylaw amendments for consideration. The first one is a proposed zoning bylaw amendment, ZBA 0524 CHR Farms Limited at 56573 Colton Line. The purpose of this bylaw amendment is to rezone two portions of the subject lands as a result of a surplus farm dwelling severance in zoning bylaw Z 456/2003. The proposed severed lot is to be rezoned from the site-specific agricultural A1, A34 zone to site-specific rural residential RRXX zone to permit a rear yard depth of 3.8 meters from the existing garage to remain. The proposed retained lot is to be rezoned from the A1, A34 zone to a site-specific special agricultural A2 XX zone to prohibit new dwellings, recognize and permit a maximum of 3 supplementary farm dwellings in portions of the 2 existing buildings to accommodate seasonal farm laborers, to permit a side yard depth of 7.2 meters from the existing barn to remain, and prohibit any new supplementary farm dwellings. The subject lands are known as 56573 Colton Line, south side of Colton Line, and east of Plank Road. The effect of this bylaw will be to recognize the residential nature of the newly created residential lot and to provide new dwellings on the retained farm parcel in accordance with the official plan. As part of the clearing of consent conditions for Elgin Land Division Committee file number E824. that was conditionally approved on February the 28th, 2024. This time I will call for public participation. Anyone wishing to speak on this matter, please attend the podium and sign in. Okay. I note there are no correspondence with this file. No other business with this file. So we'll move on with the adjournment. That the zoning bylaw be considered at a future council meeting, and that pursuant to the Planning Act requirements, the public meeting for zoning application ZBA 0524 is now complete at 7:35 PM. Mover and seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Weiser. Councillor Froze, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moving on with application B, I will call this public meeting to order at 7:36 PM. Remind members of any disclosures of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. This proposed amendment is to bylaw amendment ZBA 1124 Peters at 9704 Plank Road. Purpose of this bylaw amendment is to rezone the subject property from village residential R1 zone to site-specific village residential R1XX zone in order to permit a proposed accessory structure, a detached garage, on the subject property with a maximum height of 5.2 meters, 17.1 feet, whereas 4.5 meters is required, and a maximum floor area of 149 square meters, it's 1,603.8 square feet, whereas 75 square meters, 484.4 square meters is required. Subject property is known as 9704 Plank Road, east side and north of Heritage Line. The effect of the bylaw will be to permit a new accessory structure, a detached garage on the subject property with a maximum height of 5.2 meters, 17.1 feet, and a maximum floor area of 149 square meters, 1,603.8 square feet, by way of site-specific exemptions to the current R1 zone. This time I will call for any public participation. Anyone wishing to speak to this zoning bylaw amendment, please come forward and sign at the podium. Okay, I would note that there is no correspondence with this file, no other business. This brings us to the adjournment. That the zoning bylaw be considered at a future meeting of council, and that pursuant to the Planning Act requirements, the public meeting for zoning application ZBA 1124 is now complete at 7:37 PM. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Chilcott and Deputy Mayor Weiser, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We will now return to our regular schedule. Okay, and I believe we left off at section 11.2B. PS 0424 by Steve Adams, Manager of Public Works and Drainage Superintendent regarding tender award, RFP 0324 2024 to 2026 lawn maintenance services. Good evening, Steve.
Good evening, your worship, members of council. So the report before you regarding RFT 0324 for 2024 to 2026 lawn maintenance services. Earlier this winter, staff was looking for opportunities in the Parks and Rec lines to create a little bit of savings, and it kept coming back to the grass cutting, the lawn maintenance. So I reached out to many different contractors in the area, reviewing our costs of neighboring municipalities, trying to get a better feel for it. And it ended up for the decision to put out RFT 0424 for lawn maintenance on March 14th. This is the total lawn maintenance contract for parks and cemeteries. So in regards to this, RFT going out, there was some slight changes. One being mapping. There's a couple areas that our utility companies were maintaining for us, so we eliminated that. And the recycling waste bins was in our contract for the lawn contractor to empty. However, it kind of overlaps our other contractor that empties them across the township. So between the two, the contractor in the previous years really never emptied them. So we just eliminated that out of there to clean it up. So staff on March 27th closed 6 bids that were received. And low bid came in at 64,740 plus HST. And $100 for our bylaw per hour for bylaw cutting. Generally, we don't utilize that very often. I think 2 to 3 times annual for the last few years. However, low bid was submitted by Wilson's Lawn Care out of Port Burwell. And with this, it is going to bring savings of close to 21%. Obviously, this is based on the amount of cuts, the general amount of cuts for 18 cuts for parks, pretty much 14 for cemeteries. Looking the way this winter was going, I thought we were going to start cutting at the beginning of April, so that would obviously change things as well. So that can be adjusted. However, this price is the same, based on the same as the 2022 to 2024 contract. So that 21% in savings is a pretty significant savings for the contract. And staff are recommending moving forward with this. And yeah, if you have any questions, I'm happy to take them.
All right, thank you for that report, Steve. Any questions? Steve, is the contracted price the same over the period, or is there an inflationary indexing for 25?
Yeah, through you, your worship, 2024 to 2026 will be the same price. When the agreement's drafted up, generally, our previous agreement also had 1-year extensions. Those 1-year extensions are usually mutually agreed upon. So at that point, but we do have, we got a pretty good price here for the next 3 years anyways of cutting, so.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other questions? All right, thank you for the report. We have a motion before us that reads a report PS 0424 regarding tender award. RFT 0324, 2024-2026 lawn maintenance services be received for information. And that 2024-2026 lawn maintenance services be awarded to Wilson's Lawn Care in accordance with their tender submission in the amount of $64,740 plus HST. And that the council of the corporation and municipality of Bayham direct staff to bring forward a bylaw to enter into an agreement with Wilson's Lawn Care for the provision of 2024 to 2026 lawn maintenance services for council consideration. Do we have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Emerson will move. Councillor Chilcott will second. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Item C, PS 0524 by Steve Adams, Manager of Public Works, Drainage Superintendent, regarding the tender award, RFT 0224 pavement markings. Steve, please.
Again, the report before you is in regards to the RFT 0224 pavement markings. So this RFT was issued as the previous agreement expired in December. This is for pavement markings consisting of stop blocks, parking stalls, and directional arrows on the roadways. So annually we paint through minimum maintenance standards and the county road maintenance agreement. We paint all stop blocks within the municipality. Parking stalls generally are every 2 years or as needed. And then obviously the parking arrows and stuff are to follow. So we issued this March 6th. It closed on March 27th with 3 bids received. The low bid came in at $12 per liter, which was significantly lower than the other bids. Staff did reach out to, the RNN was the winning bid for this, and we did reach out just to kind of make sure that their cost was accurate. And talking to the neighboring municipalities, yes, they saw the same last year and the year before with this company. They're really moving into this area. They're from Guelph. They're probably going to be pushing our center line painting in the next RFT that goes out. Again, I'm going to be looking at that possibly if it's worth opening early, then we do have clauses in there that if there's potential savings, definitely. References to this aren't in there. A very large company. The stop bar painting, very simple, no issues by anybody. So yeah, they this is a little bit higher. This is about 22% higher than the 2018 cost, but that 2018 cost has been locked in. It was locked in for, that was a 5-year contract with, we renewed 1 year, maybe 2, maybe 4 years with 2. So we've definitely were pushing to get a see a little higher price, but the overall for the year, it's pretty low. We only spend between 6 and 10,000 the last couple of years. So this is a pretty low tender price anyway. So staff are recommending trying them out and moving on with this agreement.
Thank you very much for that report, Steve. Does anyone have any questions? Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. It's itemized on the tender with the materials on section 4, so that, and they are agreeing to that tender at that cost?
Yeah, through your worship. That's yeah, absolutely. One of the contractor hadn't bid this way before, so it was a little new for them. However, they bid this way with the other two, and they're aggressively, I was actually more concerned about getting them here. Obviously, if they're working in the area, they're working next door, 2 doors down. I don't want to, be October before we get our spray painting. So I'm supposed to see a schedule right away. It's supposed to be within the summer months. So that's all we can ask for anyways.
Anything additional from members? Motion reads that report PS 0524 regarding tender award RFT 0224 pavement markings be received for information, and that 2024-2026 pavement markings be awarded to R&N Maintenance in accordance with their tender submission in the amount of $12 per liter plus HST. And that the Council of the Corporation and Municipality of Bayham directs staff to bring forward a bylaw to enter into an agreement with R&N Maintenance for the provision of 2024-2026 pavement marking services for council consideration. Mover and seconder, please. Councilor Rose will move. Deputy Mayor Weiser will second. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Section 12, Development Services, Sustainability and Conservation. 2 items of correspondence in 12.1.1. Item A, notice of public meeting regarding proposed zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 0524 CHR Farms. And item B, notice of public meeting regarding proposed zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 1124 Peters. Any questions? Motion reads that items 12.1A and B be received for information. Need a mover and seconder. Deputy Mayor Weiser, Councilor Emerson, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. 12.2, reports to council, report DR 0624 by Steve Adams, Manager Public Works, Drainage Superintendent, regarding the 2024 first quarter drainage report. Steve, with your other hat.
Thank you, Your Worship. So yes, this is the first quarter report for 2024 regarding drainage issues. It was pretty busy coming out of this mild winter, which also was good for the repairs, getting them done. Just a brief overview of the report. I'll go start with the new drain. So the Hampton drain, we all know that one went on for a few years. It is now to date been completed. So the residents, the landowners will be seeing on the August tax bills. This is when this is going to go out. Contractor did a great job getting it cleaned up, and there's a little bit of grass seed to come up, and that's about it. So I did want to note the Vienna Ridge subdivision, they had a petition March 6th, John Nezazon came in. He signed the petition, so he'll piggyback on that same petition for drainage for some possible lots off of Chapel Street. And this is the same for the 1128 property Inc. up on Plank Road. Alex Vesher. He also came in on February 26th and he signed that petition that we have outstanding right now as well. This is for possible development on the west side of Plank Road. So both these properties, the reason they jumped on the petition is because they have the opportunity to hook into this drainage system for their development. So ideally, this is a really good time for the engineer. We can incorporate both these designs on both. So this is still in the hands of the two engineers on design work. So we'll be a little while, I think, before we see the drawings, as it's actually sitting on the property owner's engineer's desk right now. And then the maintenance, through this, we have planned this year, the Bartley Drain and the Neville Drain. Bartley Drain's up in the north off Cloden Road, Eden Line. After inspection, significant brush overgrowth. Staff are going to move forward. I've received this week approvals from Long Point for the Bartley Drain and the Neville Drain for brushing and bottom ditch clean out. However, there'll be a report possibly next meeting come forward for the Bartley Drain. There's some significant differences in the assessments. So staff will be bringing a quick report forward asking, we have to go through section, I don't want to quote that, on doing a reassessment for maintenance for this drain. So there's a lot of properties involved and there's a lot of different drains that hook onto this. So it turned into a complicated, and there's some significant differences over the past year. So we'll be getting that cleaned up. We have a large culvert replacement that's going to be close to 18,000 for the deli drain, unfortunately. So this work's going to get done. And then the Corinth drain, coming out of the winter time, we had 6 sinkholes on one branch and 12 on the other. Significant problems coming off of George and Henry Street for water backing up. Staff are still looking. We've cambered. We've done a lot of investigative work downstream to find that a lot of it's old clay tile. It's very undersized, and chances are council will see some improvement plans coming forward here in the near future. So we'll be working on that. Other than that, if there's any other questions about any of the other small maintenance projects, phone calls are still coming in every time it rains. So we're going to take care of them as they come.
All right. Thank you very much for that report. It is a busy schedule you've got here. Does anyone have any questions regarding any of the drainage work for the first quarter? Okay, seeing none. Motion that reads that report DR 0624 regarding the 2024 first quarter drainage report be received for information. Mover and seconder, please. Councilor Froze, Deputy Mayor Weisler. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Brings us to item B. I think I'm on the right one. Report DS 1824 by Margaret Underhill, Planning Coordinator, Deputy Clerk, regarding rezoning application ZBA 0624 Unger 53579 Colton Line.
Good evening, Your Worship and Council. This report before you is dealing with rezoning application ZBA 0624 for Unger for a property located at 53579 Colton Line in the hamlet of Colton. The purpose of the rezoning is to satisfy a condition of consent that council previously considered and Land Division Committee has granted. So the purpose is to look at the maximum height of the building, of the accessory building, and also the floor area of the building. The effect is to recognize and permit a maximum floor area of 293 square meters, whereas 75 square meters is permitted. and a maximum accessory building height of 4.9, whereas 4.5 meters is permitted for the existing accessory buildings and structures on the proposed retained lot by way of implementing site-specific exceptions to the HR zone, the Hamlet residential zone. Public meeting was held on March 21st. There were no signed-in attendees and no written comments. The staff report before you does note that, again, the consent application E5023 was considered and was granted, and this is a condition that was included at council's recommendation. The rezoning application does meet the policies. Staff recommend the approval to change the zoning on the retained parcel from Hamlet Residential to a site-specific Hamlet Residential HR-14. The recommendation is before you, and I am available for questions.
Thank you for that report, Mark. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, seeing none, the proposed motion would read that report DS 1824 regarding the Younger rezoning application ZBA 0624 be received for information, and that pursuant to Planning Act Regulations Bill 73 Smart Growth for Our Communities Act 2015, it be pointed out that at the public participation meeting held March 21st, 2024, associated with this application, there were no attendees, no oral presentations, and no written submissions received regarding this matter, and that all considerations were taken into account in council's decision passing this resolution, and that zoning bylaw number Z 456 2003 as amended be further amended by changing the zoning on a property located at Lot 1, Concession 3, known municipally as 53579 Colton Line, from Hamlet Residential HR to site-specific Hamlet Residential HR-14 on the retained parcel as a condition of consent E50-23 to permit the creation of a new lot, and that zoning bylaw number Z 774 2024 be presented to council for enactment. Do we have a mover and seconder? Deputy Mayor Weiser, Councillor Chilcott. Second, all in favor? That's carried. We have a public meeting, a quarter revision coming up at 8. Think we can get through this one in 3 minutes? All right. Item C, report DS 1924, Margaret Underhill, Planning Coordinator, Deputy Clerk, regarding rezoning application ZBA 0724, Gregory Underhill Farms Limited, 54761 Vienna Line. Mark, please.
The report's before you. Okay.
Perfect.
So the purpose is to rezone 2 portions of the subject land as a result of a surplus farm dwelling severance. The severed lot is to be rezoned from A1 to a rural residential zone. The retained land to be rezoned from A1 to special agricultural A2, all within the policies of the official plan. The effect is to recognize the residential nature of the newly created residential lot and to prohibit new dwellings on the retained parcel in accordance with our official plan. It's all part of clearing the consent conditions for consent file E6-24. Public meeting was held March 21st, no signed attendees, no written submissions. Council will note in the report that they did consider the consent application E6-24, supported it. The Land Division Committee granted it with the condition to rezone both the severed and retained. Staff and planner concur the rezoning application does meet the policies. We recommend approval to change the zoning again on the severed from A1 to rural residential and on the retained from A1 to A2 to prohibit the new dwellings, and all within the policies regarding the severance of a surplus farm dwelling. And I leave it with you, your worship, for questions.
Well, thank you very much. Any questions from council members? The proposed motion will read that report DS 1924 regarding the Gregory Underhill Farms Limited rezoning application ZBA 0724 be received for information, and pursuant to Planning Act Regulations Bill 73 Smart Growth for Our Communities Act 2015. It be pointed out that at the public participation meeting held March the 21st, 2024, associated with this application, there were no attendees, no oral presentations, and no written submissions received regarding this matter, and that all considerations were taken into account in council's decision passing this resolution, and that zoning bylaw number Z 456, 2003 as amended, be further amended by changing the zoning on a property located at not lot 19, concession 2, known municipally as 54761 Vienna Line, from agricultural A1 to rural residential RR on the severed lot, and from agricultural A1 to special agricultural A2 on the retained parcel as a condition of consent E624 to permit the severance of a surplus farm dwelling, and that zoning bylaw number Z 775 2024 be presented to council for enactment. Do I have a mover and seconder? Councilor Emerson will move. Deputy Mayor Weiser will second. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. We'll now suspend from our regular agenda to move into a court of revision. Okay. Call this court of revision for the Eden Drain Branch C to order at 8 p.m. Now, I'll remind members of the court of any disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Seeing none, tonight we're dealing with the Eden Drain Branch C notice of court of revision. Pursuant to chapter D17, section 41 of the Drainage Act, for the purpose of the court of revision is to provide an opportunity for any person or body entitled to receive notice to appeal their assessment as per engineer's report 223217 dated January 29, 2024, as prepared by Street Associates. At this point, we will entertain the staff presentation. That's report DR 0724 by Steve Adams, the Manager of Public Works, Drainage Superintendent, regarding the Eden Drain Branch C court of revision. Steve, please.
Thank you. So yes, this court before us is for the Eden Branch C. Obviously tonight, we're here to talk about the assessments for this. This petition was signed by Dave Obar and Jessica Kane, July 25th, 2023. This petition was signed again in regards to condition of severance, creation of 2 lots. They required drainage, a drainage outlet. In this case, drain ran across the frontage of the property, so it's very basic. Within the report, it's a very, very basic. So the assessment for this drain was 100% assessed. All costs are on the landowner for any of this. Nothing is to any of the other residents that are on the drain at this point. Future maintenance, these will be 2 extra lots added to the drain. And I did want to note within the report, there is a large buy-in to this drain. So under the assessments within the report, it's going to cost the landowner $20,900. This is a cost that's going to go into for future maintenance for this drain. We're going to have to put it in a drain levee, hold it. And just because the drain's already in front of his property, it doesn't mean he can just add on to it without buying into it. So on top of the cost to drop the catch basins in that are required, he will have to pay a significant amount to buy in this drain. However, this money will be used in the future for branch C maintenance. So, and it's a fairly new drain, so that money is going to be sitting there for a while. Letters, there was no letters submitted under section 46 of the Drainage Act. Letters are supposed to be submitted 10 days before this meeting, and we received none. Unfortunately, Mr. Spreet, the municipal engineer, is not on tonight. However, any questions, hopefully I can answer them.
All right, thank you for that report, Steve. Any questions? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. Steve, on page 5 of the cost estimate, so the drain itself, or to put in the catch basins is 13,500, but his buy-in is 20,000, just making sure I understand it correctly.
That's correct.
Thank you.
The total construction cost plan for us to be here today is 13,500. The buy-in is an additional 20,900, I believe. 20,900.
And 100 supplementary.
Yes, please.
Thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. 100% of that goes to the property owner that's petitioned.
That's correct.
Because I see supplementary again there through you, Mr. Mayor. I just see here on the breakdown of, on page 6, the assessment of the maintenance. So moving forward, would ever the abutting landowners, would they ever have to cover any cost? If maintenance comes in, then they would cover costs, but that's it.
That's correct.
Okay.
The only cost at this point moving forward for the neighboring landowners will be for maintenance. Any maintenance done gets assessed to each accordingly, depending where the maintenance is performed.
One final supplementary then.
Mhm.
Go on.
The buy-in cost, then what is that covering? If the neighbors are gonna be charged, then what's the buy-in covering?
Okay. Yeah.
So I just.
No, absolutely. Great question. That's, I brought it up because it's not something we see all the time, and I
Right.
did want to point it out. Especially with these type of developments. If the drain is already in place, it's not free for anybody to hook into it. Back in the day, the new houses next door to this property, they paid, I can't tell you that cost, if it was 150,000 to build this drain. They are now putting money towards their portion, just like all the neighbors did. And then now this money will sit there until maintenance is used. Like you said, we're not gonna see maintenance get assessed to any of the neighbors for quite a while. That's a pretty significant amount for this small little piece of drain that's here. I'm guessing we're gonna be way over 10 years out, plus 15 years before we even touch that dollar value. So it's a good little, for the upstream landowners, it's actually a great thing. It's a great thing to have.
Equity fairness.
Yeah.
Number 4.
I promise it's my last one. Through supplementary through you, Mr. Mayor. Why such a high buy-in then if we probably aren't going to use that funds for quite some time?
This would be a great question for Mr. Spree. However,
Yeah.
this is how he has to assess this out. He can't come up with a random number. He took the old report from 2009 or maybe 2011. I forget. He took that report and he has to use the numbers for that land in front of that drain. So the drain is apportioned accordingly. I know it's a difficult, if I break it down, if I said it's a 10 acres, this guy owns 3 acres. So he's paying on 100,000, he's paying that 30% of buy-in. So it's a lot to hook onto these drains, but for these landowners, it's a needed thing. It's worth it.
Okay. No, it's learning experience. Any other questions? Okay.
Just one more. We do have a
Please.
sign-in sheet. If there was any alternative,
Well, we haven't got the public participation yet.
That's right.
So now anyone who wishes to participate, please
Yeah.
see Steve and sign in. Guess you're on your own.
that's it.
All right, we ready for the disposition? All right. The motion would read that report DR 0724 regarding the Eden Drain Branch C. Quarter revision be received for information. And that the quarter revision acknowledge that no appeals have been received with respect to the Eden Drain Branch C assessments outlined in engineer's report 223217. And that the engineer report 223217 dated January 29th, 2024 for the Eden Drain Branch C be adopted as presented. And that corresponding bylaw number 2024-010 be presented to council for a third and final reading. Do we have a mover and seconder for that? Deputy Mayor Weiser, Councilor Chilcott, all in favor? Carried. Motion that the quarter revision for the Eden Drain Branch C be adjourned at 8:09 PM. Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Frost, Counselor Emerson. All in favor? Carried. Court is adjourned. Which brings us back to our regular agenda. And I'm gonna call a recess for 10 minutes. Welcome back. We left off at section D. That would be too many pages back.
Hmm.
12.2D, report DS 2024 by Margaret Underhill, Planning Coordinator, Deputy Clerk, regarding the rezoning application ZBA 0824, Lancusen Farms Limited at 55106 Vienna Line. Mark, please.
Thank you, your worship, and through you to council. The report before you is for rezoning application ZBA 0824 Lancusen Farms Limited for property located at 55106 Vienna Line. The purpose of the bylaw amendment is to rezone two portions of the subject lands as a result of a surplus farm dwelling severance. The proposed severed lot would be rezoned from A1 zone to site-specific rural residential RR-50 to permit the existing oversized accessory building of 285 square meters and the prohibition of the keeping of livestock. The proposed retained lot would be rezoned from A1 zone to a site-specific special agricultural A220 zone to prohibit new dwellings and recognize the existing supplementary farm dwelling. The effect is to recognize the residential nature of the newly created residential lot and to prohibit new dwellings on the retained farm parcel, all in accordance with the official plan and part of the clearing of consent conditions for consent file E4-23. The public meeting was held on March 21st with no signed-in attendees, no written public submissions. Council will recall that they considered consent application E4- and that should say 23 on my report, along with the planner's memorandum. And the Land Division Committee granted the consent with the condition to rezone. So staff and planner concur. The application as presented does meet the policies. We recommend approval to change. And as already stated, the severed parcel from A1 to rural residential RR50, the retained parcel from A1 to special site-specific special agriculture A2-20 is prohibiting new dwellings, recognizing an existing supplementary farm dwelling in the form of one permanent building erected prior to the date of the passing of the this zoning bylaw to accommodate seasonal farm laborers, all in accordance with the official plan policies regarding the severance of a surplus farm dwelling. I leave it with you, your worship, for questions.
Well, thank you very much for that report, Mark. Does anyone council have any questions on this rezoning application? Okay. The motion would read that report DS 2024 regarding the Lancusen Farms Limited rezoning application ZBA 0824 be received for information. And that pursuant to Planning Act Regulations Bill 73 Smart Growth for Our Communities Act 2015, it be pointed out that at the public participation meeting held March the 21st, 2024 associated with this application, there were no attendees, no oral presentations, and no written submissions received regarding this matter. And that all considerations were taken into account in council's decision passing this resolution. And that zoning bylaw number Z 456/2003 as amended be further amended by changing the zoning on a property located at lot 11 concession 3, known municipally as 55106 Vienna Line, from agricultural A1 to site-specific rural residential RR50 on the severed lot, and from agricultural A1 to special agricultural A220 on the retained parcel as a condition of consent E424 to permit the severance of a surplus farm dwelling, and that zoning bylaw number Z 776/2024 be presented to council for enactment. Mover and seconder, Deputy Mayor Weiser, Councillor Chilcott will second. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Moving on to item E, report DS 2124 by Margaret Underhill, Planning Coordinator, Deputy Clerk, regarding plan of subdivision 34T BY 2101, Sandytown subdivision rezoning application ZBA 1024 1985763 Ontario Inc. Mark, please.
Thank you, your worship.
Oh, excuse me.
Sorry, I forgot at the beginning that I have a conflict of interest with this item, so I will not be participating in it.
You're gonna step away from the table for
I
this?
am, yes.
All right, thank you for that. Record that in minutes, please. Thank you, Mark. Please
Okay.
proceed.
Through you to council. The application for rezoning before you is part of the Sandytown subdivision, 34T BY 2101, located at 8341 Sandytown Road. The purpose and effect of the plan of subdivision is to divide the subject parcel into 39 single detached residential lots. It's being developed in 2 phases. Phase 1 at 13 lots, phase 2 at 26 lots. There's 1 stormwater management block, 1 sanitary pumping station block, and 1 road widening block. The residential lots will be serviced by municipal sanitary sewage disposal system, including a proposed sanitary sewer pumping station and private on-site water services. The purpose and effect of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is to remove the holding provision, H2, by way of an active subdivision agreement between the applicant and the municipality. Public meeting was held November 18, 2021, jointly with the draft plan of subdivision. The application provides for the rezoning of the lands as per requirement of the subdivision agreement approved by bylaw number 2024-005 dated February 1st, 2024. The purpose and intent of the zoning bylaw is for the removal of the holding provision and a new notice of public meeting and notice of passing are not required when you're just removing the holding. Only a bylaw is prepared for this application. Further, no members of the public can appeal a holding provision. Only the applicant is able to appeal if council refuses or does not make a decision within a specified time frame. By entering into the subdivision agreement, the applicant has fulfilled the requirements to remove the holding provision. Staff and planner are supportive of the purpose and effect of the zoning amendment and recommend bylaw approval. And it's with you, your worship, for any questions.
Thank you very much for that presentation, Mark. Does anyone have any questions? All right, just for point of clarification, Mark, can you confirm that the removal of the holding provision is for all 39 proposed lots?
That is correct for the entire property.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions, the motion before us would read that report DS 2124 regarding the 1985763 Ontario Inc. rezoning application be received for information, and that pursuant to Planning Act Regulations Bill 73 Smart Growth for Our Communities Act 2015, it be pointed out that at the public participation meeting held November the 18th, 2021, associated with this application, there were no written submissions, no oral presentation regarding this matter, and that all considerations were taken into account in council's decision passing this resolution. And that zoning bylaw number Z 456 2003 as amended be further amended by changing the zoning on the lands owned by 1985763 Ontario Inc., identified as concession NTR, part of lot 123, known as 8341 Sandytown Road, and subject to plan of subdivision 34T-BY 2101 from Holding Village Residential 1, R1H2 to Village Residential 1, R1 zone. And that zoning bylaw number Z 777 2024 be presented to council for enactment. Do we have a mover and seconder for that? Councilor Froese will move. Councilor Emerson will second. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Item F, report DS 2224 by Margaret Underhill, Planning Coordinator, Deputy Clerk, regarding Ontario Land Tribunal Final Order, case number OLT 23-000770 Shep, 14077 Bayham Drive. Margaret, please.
Thank you, your worship, and through you to council. Council will recall on April 20th, 2023, council considered staff report DS 25-23 regarding official plan amendment application OPA 0323 with draft OPA number 32 and zoning bylaw amendment application ZBA 0323 submitted by Ari and Christina Shep for their property located at 14077 Bayham Drive. Purpose of them all was to recognize an existing electrical services business through a site-specific provision in the official plan and site-specific zoning in the bylaw. At the same meeting, council passed the following motion as noted in the report. Adopting official plan amendment number 32 and that it was to be forwarded to the County of Elgin for approval. Also included in that recommendation that the draft zoning bylaw be presented to council for consideration after such time as OPA number 32 receives County of Elgin approval and the details of OPA 32 are finalized. At their meeting held June 27, 2023, County Council refused BAM OPA number 32 despite a recommendation of approval from county staff. The notice of decision was issued July 7, 2023 and was circulated, which did not contain reason or explanation for the refusal. The appellant filed an appeal to the county's decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal, the OLT. The public hearing was scheduled for December 14, 2023. However, prior to the hearing, the parties settled the appeal. The OLT final order with a modified OPA number 32 was issued and received by the municipality on December 21st, 2023. That's our history. So right now, what we're doing is we're acknowledging the amended official plan amendment number 32 as approved by order from the OLT. And in regards to the related zoning amendment, the purpose of the zoning is to implement the OLT decision of official plan amendment number 32 by rezoning a portion of the subject property from site-specific agricultural A129 zone to site-specific agricultural A144. That is to permit the existing service shop as an additional permitted use with an accessory building for a maximum floor area of 520 square meters. The effect of the bylaw will be to permit the existing electrical workshop business as a service shop, and this use will be able to operate within the accessory building for a maximum floor area, again, of 520 square meters, and thus this bylaw will implement the OPA number 32. A joint public meeting for the OPA and the zoning was held April 6, 2023, with no public comments or presentations. So at this time, staff and planner recommend the inclusion of OPA 32 in our official plan and the approval of the draft zoning bylaw number Z 779-2024. And I leave it with you, Your Worship, for any questions.
Thank you, Marg, for that presentation. Does anyone have any questions? All right, then I have the following motion, that report DS 22-24 regarding the Ontario Land Tribunal final order regarding official plan amendment number 32 and draft zoning bylaw number Z 779-2024 SHEP be received for information. And that council directs staff to add official plan amendment number 32 as modified to the official plan. And that in order to implement the Ontario Land Tribunal decision on official plan amendment number 32, the zoning on a portion of the subject property located at 14077 Bayham Drive be changed from site-specific agricultural A129 zone to site-specific agricultural A144 zone to permit the existing service shop as an additional permitted use within the accessory building for a maximum floor area of 520 square meters. And that zoning bylaw number Z 779-2024 be presented to council for enactment. Mover and seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Weisler, Councilor Froese, all in favor? That's carried. Moving on to item G, a little novel presented by Deputy Clerk. Report DS 2324 regarding consent applications E2624, E2724, and E2824 Clark and Sullivan at 53867 and 53869 Heritage Line. Mark.
Thank you, Your Worship. The reason for the novel is there's 3 applications and they're all somewhat related and intermingled. So we're dealing with all 3 in the same report. Speaking of the report, there is one error that was brought to my attention. The mayor wins the prize for noting a typo on my part. The first bullet of the report, E26-24, Nathan Clark and Kelly Sullivan, owners of, should say 53869 Heritage Line, proposed to sever for the purpose of a lot addition, a parcel of 991 square meters to add to 53885 Heritage Line. So I apologize for any confusion there. They are technically the owners of 53885, but in this statement, it needed to be a little bit clearer, and I thank the worship for pointing that out. So to continue on, there's E27 and E28. All the subject lands are designated hamlets. They are located in the hamlet of Richmond. Elgin County Land Division Committee will consider all applications on April the 24th. The planner's memo dated March 27, 2024 analyzes the 3 applications subject to the Municipality of Bayham official plan and zoning bylaw. Staff suggests council review, I hope you did, the memorandum that's quite detailed and quite explanatory as to what's happening here with these 3 applications and how they relate to each other. Staff and planner recommend council support of the applications with the listed conditions to permit the 2 lot additions and the creation of 1 building lot within the hamlet of Richmond. I am, of course, here for questions. The recommendation before you is as presented in the staff report. It is extremely lengthy. But I will leave it with you, your worship.
Thank you for that. I'm going to ask question if they, or excuse me, council, if they have any questions. Okay, I have one within the applications themselves. They identify the lands as tier 3 settlement areas. Is that correct? They should be tier 2, should they not? The subject lands?
Municipal water and private septic.
Right.
Yes,
So they should be tier 2.
I didn't catch that. I apologize.
I will-
Another, you win the prize again.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's in
Okay.
the planner's memo. Yes, that would be a typo.
Actually, they were in the applications themselves, and I thought that was interesting.
Oh, okay.
So
Yep.
that's why I wanted to clarify.
That's right. It was in the applications. Yes, there is some notations that are, or there are some notations that are going back to the county in respect to the application because there was some conflicting information.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it is a complex maneuver that's going on here.
Mhm. And your worship, we received these applications as a
As
you
a
know,
package.
as a package from the county. They're presented as they are from the Land Division Committee Secretary. I do pick up on missing information or errors. I try to relay that back because sometimes the applications are not quite correct as to what they should be. So I do try and point that out to the secretary.
Thank you for that. Keeps clarity and keeps confidence in the file.
Well, trying to present the application as it should be.
Okay. Again, petitioning council here. Any questions? It is a lengthy maneuver that's going on here. I do ultimately support the goal. I think what you're doing is increasing intensity within the village. And yeah. No questions. You sure you don't want to read the recommendation?
Oh, I would leave that to you if you so desire,
With,
but it is as presented in the report.
with council's permission, I think we'll take your advisement. It's page and a half, pages. Okay. If there are no further questions, I would entertain a mover and a seconder for the recommendation as published. Councilor Froze will move. Councilor Chilcott will second. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. You don't have to turn 2 pages to get to that one. Okay, thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Moving on to section 13, we have 13.1 correspondence and 13.11 items to receive for information. We have 11 pieces for the benefit of those who are don't have the agenda before them. Item A, Town of Fort Erie, a request for provincial governments to support increasing funding for public libraries and community museums. Item B, Loyalist Township, regarding amend blue box regulations for ineligible sources. Item C, Loyalist Township, regarding solutions to resolve significant financial budgetary pressures relating to infrastructure development, maintenance, and repairs. Item D, Whitewater Region, regarding highway infrastructure request. Item E, Township of Adelaide Metcalf, regarding the request to increase the tile drain loan limit. Item F, Township of Asphodel Norwood, regarding Public Health Ontario Labs. Item G, Town of Whitby, regarding the Ontario Energy Board's decision to end the gas pipeline subsidy. Item H, the Elgin Group Police Services Board, regarding the November 2023 meeting minutes. Item I, Elgin Police Services Board, regarding the February 2024 meeting minutes. J, Southwest Public Health, regarding actions to reduce alcohol-related harms report. And item K, the municipality of Bayham, regarding the 2024 budget infographic. Does anyone have any questions regarding any of these pieces of correspondence, wish to draw attention to any of these pieces of correspondence, or support any?
Through you, Mr. Mayor,
Yes, please,
could
Councillor.
we support B, please? As it relates to some of our businesses in the community.
Yes, we've had some comments about that in the past, haven't we? Yep. Any other items? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I noted, sorry, I'm trying to find the exact place, but I did note in one of the minutes from the police board that there was to be some correspondence sent to our municipality in regards to the speeding concerns
Yep.
in Vienna. I just wondered if that's been received yet. I haven't seen it come up.
I don't recall. I do recall when they set the radar speed indicator down at the foot of the hill.
Mhm.
But I don't recall receiving any correspondence.
I haven't received anything in regards to that item in a number of months.
Okay. Anything else? All yours, Madam Clerk.
Motion would read that items 13.11 A through K be received for information and that council for the municipality of Bayham supports item B.
Mover and second, please. Counselor Emerson will move, Counselor Crowe will second. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. 13.2, reports to council. Which number is that one? Oh, we gotta go back to the addendum. You wanna go home?
Mhm.
All right, we are slipping ahead then to,
11.
yes, it's the addendum, it's, 13.2C, which would be the fourth quarter variance report, correct? First quarter, well, it's 2024, excuse me. Please go on.
Good evening, your worship. Thanks, Madam Clerk, for letting me go ahead of you. Before you is the Q1 2024 report, and I do apologize to council for this being addendum. Month end, I didn't close until Monday, and I need to get the notes on the report here to you guys this week as they're time sensitive. So, really, there's not much to really discuss in Q1. Operations are pretty light, seeing that we're coming out of winter. A little bit of capital has been procured, and a lot of stuff is going to start rolling on in Q2. Stuff that's been awarded, upcoming contracts to be bid on and tendered. So really kind of a status quo. Big ones for the quarter were obviously Public Works, traditional cycle of expenses, and winter control. Everything is within seasonal, as noted in that. The big takeaway from this report is two things. One, we have some investments that are coming up for re-rolling or rematuring, as well as allocating some cash on hand that was defined for Ojibwe Reserve in the 2024 operating budget in capital to increase the yield on it up until the March of 2025. So those are the two main items in the report. But I'm here to answer any questions that council has.
All right, thank you for that report. So essentially, in terms of the investments, it's just rolling these investments over for another period.
So
11 month.
re-rolling the existing 1.5
Yep.
for 11 months, renewing the two cemeteries for 11 months for 5,000 each, and then allocating 1 million to 11-month GIC. We've negotiated the rate at 5.2, which is the top of the max market. I want to do this now because all indications from the Bank of Canada and the Federal Reserve, there's probably going to be downward pressure this year, which means the yield curve will go down. And I've also wanted to set the timing up that it matures in auto deposits into our operating general before the 5 business days before the drop dead day of the Ojibwe renewal date.
All right, thank you for that. Any questions from council regarding either the investment strategy or the first quarter variance report? All right, I'm not seeing any questions. The motion would read. Thank you, Thomas.
That report TR 1124, read the 2024 Q1 variance report be received for information, and that council directs staff to reinvest the combined 1.51 million into 11-month GICs. That's the 1.5 plus 10,000. And that council directs staff to invest $1 million in cash on hand into 11-month GICs.
Mover and seconder. Counselor Chilcott, Counselor Emerson. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. All right. Two. All right. Moving on then with report CL 0324 by Megan Elliott, clerk, regarding the municipal assistance for community events policy. Megan, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to council. Last meeting, we presented a report with 2 drafted policies and discussed possibly having municipal assistance as in the funds go through council and other special event request approvals be delegated to staff. Council's direction was to come back with 1 combined policy to keep that authority with council. So tonight here, there is a draft policy for your consideration. It basically keeps the process as previous in place, but now we have a policy that outlines 2 deadlines of submissions. So this will help us to streamline when applications come to council. And staff, if you are happy with this proposal, staff would then work on updating the application form to be a little bit more robust than in the past, to make sure that any and all requests are being spoken to and being approved at the council table at that time, so that there doesn't have to be any back and forth. There is language in the policy that allows for council to deny a request if need be. There's also language that keeps those deadlines strong to say that applications will not be considered if they are not received by the deadline. And of course, we have general language to say that the municipality reserves the right to revoke any approvals at any time if deemed necessary. And I'll leave it with you for questions.
All right, thank you for that report, Megan. Council, does the policy as proposed meet your expectations? Okay, well, thank you for bringing that forward, Megan. The motion would read that report CL 0324 regarding municipal assistance for community events policy be received for information, and that the municipal assistance for community events policy be approved as presented, and the appropriate bylaw for adoption be presented to council for enactment. Do I have a mover and seconder, please? Councilor Emerson will move that. Councilor Chilcott will second. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Item B, report CAO 1124 by Thomas Thayer regarding the disposition of Part 2, Plan 11R 11164, section of Bay Street. Thomas, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this report comes forward to effectively request direction with respect to a surplus of a part of Bay Street that abuts lots 129 and 130. We've been back and forth with the landowner in negotiation regarding terms. We're at the point now where we can formally bring this forward under our sale of surplus municipal lands policy to consider a surplus and then ultimately move into the comment periods to stop up, close, and convey the land. So the lands in question are part 2 of the attached survey. Part 1 at this point in time will be retained by the municipality for potential future use, either for laneway improvements or for drainage as it applies to the Port Burwell Master Drainage Plan. The fire chief and the manager of public works have been consulted on this file. So in accordance with policy, staff recommend to council that we deem part 2 of the attached survey surplus the needs of the municipality for purpose of direct sale to landowner, and at the appropriate comment periods, stop up, close, and convey be commenced. I'm available for questions.
All right, thank you very much for that. Comments, questions? Okay. The motion would read the report CAO 1124 regarding disposition of Part 2, Plan 11R 11164, section of Bay Street, Port Burwell will be received for information. And that the Council of the Corporation Municipality of Bayham deems Part 2 on Plan 11R 11164 surplus to the needs of the municipality for the purpose of direct sale to the landowner. And that the appropriate notice and comments period be commenced in accordance with the municipality's sale of surplus municipal lands policy to stop up, close, and convey Part 2 on Plan 11R 11164. Do I have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Froese will move. Anyone? Councillor Chilcott will second. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Item C, report. We've already done that. Brings us to section 14, the bylaws. We have 5 bylaws.
Just a quick comment, Mr. Mayor. Since bylaw Z 777/2024 is associated with the item that Councillor Chilcott declared on, it may be prudent to have that one separated and voted on separately.
Thank you. So that's item A. Got it split. I was just going to itemize out what they were, but that's fine. So 774/2024 is the bylaw to amend Z 456/2003 Unger. Bylaw number Z 775/2024 is the bylaw to amend Z 456/2003 as amended. That's Gregory Underhill Farms Limited. Bylaw number Z 776/2024 is being a bylaw to amend bylaw Z 456/2003 as amended, Lancusen Farms. Bylaw number Z 777/2024 being a bylaw to amend bylaw Z 456/2003, the Sandytown subdivision. And bylaw number Z 779/2024 being a bylaw to amend bylaw Z 456/2003 as amended, shut. Does anyone have any questions? Councillor Chilcott.
Did we need to remove D?
It will be.
It will be.
Okay.
Yes. It will be to recognize the conflict. All right. Any other questions? Then Madam Clerk, please.
That bylaw number Z 774/2024, Z 775/2024, Z 776/2024, and Z 779/2024 be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed.
Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Emerson and Councillor Froese, all in favor? That's carried. Madam Clerk, please.
That bylaw number Z 777/2024 be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed.
Mover and seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Weisler. Councillor Emerson, thank you. All in favor? Carried. I think you got all told. Yeah. Oh,
I had
okay,
it up.
good, good. Thank you very much. that brings us to going into an in-camera session. So I will need a mover and seconder for the following, that the council do now rise to enter into an in-camera session at. Yeah. You wish.
What?
It's pretty close.
Oh, it is.
It is. No, it is now. It is, yeah, 8:56
That's wild.
to discuss. She had it printed, pre-printed on here, so she had the time on it, and
That's wild.
it is, yes. How did you know?
Better get water.
Yes. Confidential item regarding the sale or disposition of land, a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board. That's Sirius Street. And item B, a confidential item regarding personal matters about an identifiable individual, CAO performance review. Do I have a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Chilcott and Deputy Mayor Weiser, all in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. We'll